Welcome to the Bite Size Fitness Podcast with your hosts, Sam Owen and James McCarthy. Okay, so today, how are we going to break this one down today? How would you describe today's topic?
Um, I,
Reaction-based
yeah,
podcast.
I guess so. Yeah, the reaction or the overreaction to, um, someone discussing the ill effects of alcohol intake.
Yeah, well, basically, very popular podcast, Diary of a CEO, by Stephen Bartlett. Said he was having a discussion. I think was it Chris Williamson. I think it was,
Williamson.
wasn't
Yeah,
it? And he was talking about the effects of alcohol, and I think he said something along the lines of it just ruined his week or something like that. And anyway, there's been this huge uproar and backlash over the podcast, and I personally think, and I know you do too,
mm.
just a complete overreaction of people that I believe anyway, have got this almost vendetta against the counterculture towards alcohol, and now everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. These people are really coming out to the woodwork.
Yeah,
Um, so we'll play the video and I'll play her into
yeah.
my mic so people can hear. And this is an example of some of the reactions, okay? A couple of glasses of wine, didn't get drunk. It ruined 3 days of my life because of the domino effect it caused. So it meant that I got worse sleep that night. And then because I got worse sleep that night, I ate more poorly the next day because my dopamine system or whatever, the cortisol system was all messed up. Resilience, yeah. And then I podcasted worse. I didn't go to the gym the day after.
You what, mate? You couldn't podcast for a few days? When did we become such a wanky society that we trusted gadgets and fucking dildos on our wrist? Because all my whoop isn't also not 95% plus, so I can't train today. I have done this many a time where I've got absolutely railed off my head with beer and maybe some extracurriculars before. Don't do it as often anymore. Played rugby the next day and cracked on with work. And I could still do that now at 35 years old. Just because someone's saying they had 3 glasses of wine, you have to think, oh my God, my dopamine system or whatever, or my cortisol is not optimal, therefore I shouldn't do it anymore. No one gives a shit. Honestly, life is far too fucking short to be overly optimal. I don't even coach my clients to be like that. There is no room for perfection in this fucking society, and that's what it's trying to teach you. And all they're trying to do is sell a fucking gadget. And it's nothing against...
Anyway, I think you kind of get the point, right?
Yeah. He's having a
And
bad time.
yeah, and I mean, I think it's a complete mischaracterization of what he was actually getting at, and I think it's kind of creates quite an interesting conversation. Do you want to start this one off, mate? What's your thoughts on what that guy just said anyway in the video I just played?
Yeah, so I think you've got he's just gone off. I know you will get some people who are anti-alcohol. I don't think from the sound bite I've seen of Stephen Bartlett's podcast, I don't think he's necessarily anti-alcohol to the point he's saying nobody should, like, alcohol should never pass anyone's lips. You can never have a glass of wine with a meal or anything like that.
And that's where the mischaracterization comes in,
Exactly.
isn't it?
And
Yeah.
then, people like this guy have jumped on it, and then he's gone to the complete opposite end, and he's almost glorifying that he is 35 years old and he can go out and, drink with his mates or knock back however much wine, and he can still go to work the next day and train, and he's in shape and whatever. And it's just, yeah, that's the problem. Whereas really, the reality is for most people, it's just somewhere in the middle. It's just like everything. It's balanced, boring.
Mm.
Don't drink like an absolute idiot. But equally, you don't need to be like you and I don't drink. Don't see the benefit to it. Not saying someone needs to be, and I don't, that's the thing nowadays. That's considered as extreme if you don't drink, where it's not.
Mm.
It's just a choice.
Mm.
You don't look at someone who isn't, smoking or doing recreational drugs and being like, oh, what you telling me you're not doing lines of cocaine on a Saturday night? What's wrong with you? But that's what it got to with alcohol. Oh, you're not partaking in this. And I think more and more people than ever now are choosing, be it whatever. Maybe some people are more health conscious. Maybe they have been around alcohol and not like the effects of it, but more and more people are choosing and opting not for it to be a part of their life.
Right. And I think personally, I think there's been this overreaction to that video because there has been a counterculture towards alcohol, particularly in the past 2 years. I can
Mm,
tell you this, and you would have noticed it more than likely as well. Um, you know, when I was 20 and I
mm,
gave up alcohol, and I used to go into rooms and tell people, look, I'm not drinking tonight. And if they didn't know me, they would go, oh, right, okay. They would almost be kind of like a concern, almost
yeah.
like, are you okay?
Mm.
And some people have actually asked me, like, do you have a history of alcohol?
Like a
Is it
recovery, yeah,
like
problem
a
with it.
reca
Yeah.
yeah. That's where it got to with alcohol. It got to a place where you were the odd one out if you didn't do the drug. And as you rightly said, you would never rock up to a party today
Mm.
and be the odd one out if you didn't want to do that line of cocaine.
Yeah.
But somehow it got to that place with alcohol, and especially in the UK. I had a shock when I went over to Australia, and it wasn't a thing. Like people
Mm.
didn't care. So that's that, right? And I think that there has been a shift in the past couple of years, especially where more and more people, maybe, for me personally, it was never my goal, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it never aligned with my goals, right?
Mm.
And to me personally, and whatever way you look at it, alcohol will absolutely pull from some of your goals. It absolutely
Yeah.
will because the effects are very real. Now, that isn't me saying that a part of your goal might be in life that you want to have fun, and a part of fun is alcohol to you. That isn't to me. Like, I didn't have to drink to have fun,
I
personally.
think what I said to you on the voice note earlier, wasn't it? Is
Yeah.
you define your own fun. Fun isn't like fun to you and I isn't going around the pubs and smashing 10 pints of Guinness on a Saturday. If you witnessed us on holidays, the kind of stuff we do for fun, and there's no alcohol involved, and we have a pretty good time. So
Yeah.
it's
And
it's very much
it pulls from it for us, right?
yeah.
Because like for Stephen, I'm sure he's a driven guy. He's got other things that maybe he finds fun in his life.
Mm,
And likewise to us, he might feel like if like he literally said on the podcast, if he drinks, it pulls from those things that he takes enjoyment in.
yeah.
And that's the way that it is. And I viewed another reaction video about someone talking about people. Actually, we were chatting about this, and she was going, "Well, it's no coincidence how people have stopped drinking, basically, and everybody's less happy." And
Oh
it's
yeah, that
like,
was the one that got me. Yeah, I know.
and it's like, hang on a second. First of all, happiness isn't a substance um, situation. It's
Yeah,
a philosophical situation, right? Like you don't depend on your happiness in a substance, any substance for that matter, and especially alcohol because it's a depressant,
yeah.
right? Like,
It's of course a short term uplifting mood for many people, and then the day after, then it's associated with like what poor sleep, increased levels of anxiety, and just more depressive symptoms. So
sure. So it's this reaction, like, and coming back to this guy, right? Because it's reaction videos like this that, quite frankly, I just think are, I mean, melodramatic and completely taken out of context. Stephen is not saying that you can't go for a drink.
mm,
He's not saying if that's a part of the way that you look at fun, it's not to me.
yeah,
But if it is to you, then great, go have at it. But let's just not deny that there are real effects with this. I grew up playing rugby in the valleys, right? I, you know, at 16, I was out drinking every weekend because
mm,
that's what we do. We go to the rugby club, we drink. That's just part of the lifestyle when you play rugby, especially in the valleys as well. You know, a lot of weekends I played hangover, like this guy
yeah,
said. Now, I can tell you objectively, yes, you can still play rugby. You can still turn up to work hangover. Now, are you as effective? Absolutely not. And that is the point. And I think people are just completely missing it. Of course, you can turn up to work hungover. Of course, you can still turn up to your sport and play and grind through if you need to. But you're never going to be as effective as if you weren't drinking. And that's just
Mm.
sorry. I have made the rules.
Yeah.
I have made it this way. That's just how it is. Now, we're all grown adults. If you want to have a drink, great, go at it. But let's just be honest about the repercussions and the effects that come with alcohol. Not make out as if it's not doesn't have an effect.
Mm.
And certainly doesn't reflect how much of a man you are, right?
Oh, yeah,
Or
that's what that one.
like
Yeah.
like his message there was all bravado, right? And
Mm.
say, and like I'm the
Alpha.
lad, I'm the
Yeah.
lad. I'm sorry, mate. Like you're hardly a lad because you drink alcohol and still turn up to work or play rugby the next day.
Mhm.
That's not tough. That doesn't make you any more superior to someone that doesn't decide to
No.
drink. So this whole thing of, and the other thing I think that probably really kind of resonated me with this is that it was this reoccurrence of, you know, somehow if you don't drink, then you're not having fun.
Mm.
I just think that's completely wrong, in my opinion. But I'm the one who brought this to your attention, like
Yeah, no, yeah, I did, yeah.
you.
But no, but you know my thoughts on it. I mean, I used to drink every time I'd go on holidays and things like that when I was late teens, so like 18 upwards to probably 23, I guess. And I think that was probably about the last sort of time I drank. And I would drink on holidays, and it would literally just be shots because I never liked the taste of it, just to get that feeling of increased confidence or less inhibition or whatever. And I just think that leads to nowhere.
Right,
And so, yeah, I mean, eventually when you stop doing that, you clear the clouds away and you realize you can actually still enjoy yourself and without needing to go out and do that.
right.
And the other argument to this that I saw was that by giving up alcohol, you're too like balls deep in trying to optimize everything in your life. I mean,
That's not true.
I know. I mean,
We're not on the
uh,
trackers looking at our HRV,
Whoop
are we?
band and all of this kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've
That's not
never. I think
us.
we've discussed this. And neither of us have ever used the Whoop bands or the rings, or because I mean, yeah, if you woke up and it tells you, oh yeah, don't train today. Yeah, sorry, piss off. I'm still going to go and train. So
Like
um,
giving up alcohol hardly means that you are the optimization guy.
yeah,
It just means that you've given up alcohol. It doesn't
mm,
automatically mean that we're tracking with like that Brian Johnson or whatever and tracking every metric under the
yeah,
sun.
that's optimizing. Yeah, that's optimizing the nth degree, isn't it?
So they're conflating.
Yeah, and again, you've got just opposite ends. You've got people saying that if you take care of your health and you maybe forgo alcohol, then you're balls deep in optimizing everything in your life and you need to have some fun. And then you've got people on the opposite end of the spectrum and they're saying, oh my God, don't you dare eat a processed food or don't you dare consume seed oils or you better wash the freaking hell out of your berries before you eat them. Again, it's boring, but the middle ground is the happy medium.
Right, right. And nobody wants to hear that. But all these PTs coming on here now and
Mm,
acting like Jack the lad,
yeah.
yeah. No, mate, like let's still be objective about this.
Mm,
Um, like I know you're trying to be relatable to people, but at the end of the day, like there are real repercussions of alcohol and yeah, they come with consequences. Let's just be honest about that.
yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you're the optimization guys. You say like it's somewhere in the middle.
Mm,
And yeah, to me personally, health for me is not about I actually don't think it's healthy to optimize. If you actually, funny enough, this is the my opinion anyway. I
yeah.
think these, optimize guys right out there with bands and trying to get every single metric. I actually think that takes away from their health.
Yeah.
So I think the healthiest people out there are the ones that do the basics consistently. And to me personally, a basic need is not doing drugs that take away from, you know, my health in any capacity. That's
Mm.
basic to me personally. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people would disagree with that, but to me, I think that's a basic thing,
Mm.
and that's just the way that I see it, But again, people can do what they want. They're adults, right? But like this whole spiel, I think that people are going on about like how he's just like I think they've really kind of overreacted. I think there's been a huge overreaction to it, and I think it's been bubbling for a while, actually.
Mm.
Um, anything else you want to add there, mate, or no?
No, not at all. Like I said, it's perfectly acceptable for people to have alcohol, and it can be part of their diet. Although we know
Mm,
there is like absolutely no health benefit to it, but within a balanced intake, it can be part of
for
an
sure.
overall, lifestyle and diet. It's like ice cream isn't exactly nutritious. I'm going to eat ice cream for the rest of my life,
Yeah,
But
yeah,
overindulging on something like that is going to have nowhere near the consequences that overindulging in alcohol can do. Because typically, when someone, again, goes hard on alcohol, they make poorer choices. It can also have life-changing consequences, be it for your own health, someone around you. People are known to get in the car and drive as well. All sorts of problems can happen. So yeah, I just don't think you can take alcohol intake lightly in terms of abusing alcohol.
yeah, yeah. You said this to me earlier. If someone turned around to you and said, "Oh, I've done a few lines of cocaine,"
Mm.
then at a party, then you'd say, there'd be a bit more of a reaction to it. But if someone's
Yeah,
doing five, six drinks a night, then
yeah.
it doesn't matter as much. And I do think that it's a bit of a double standard, personally.
Completely. That's what I said to you. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like the World Cup starts soon, isn't it? I mean, it would be perfectly acceptable for you to call me up during the World Cup and say, "Oh, James, do you want to come around and watch the quarter final?" And I'm going to get a few cans in, and we sit there and go through like 10, 12 cans each. No one's going to blink an eye. If you went, "Oh, do you want to come around and I've got a few bags, so we'll do a few lines." People would go, "Oh,
Can you
come
imagine? That would be a complete character change. I mean,
on." I know.
hey guys, if that ever happens, me and you are in a very dark place in
Oh
our
yeah,
lives,
yeah,
and we,
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Things
this
have
is just
turned
us.
around. Yeah,
But yeah, it's all true, mate. It
yeah.
is so
That's
true,
it.
you know.
Yeah.
But I think the point of all this is, look, if you've viewed and been caught up in all of this, and you don't drink like me or you,
Mm.
because again, it just isn't your thing or doesn't align with your goals and it takes from your goals, doesn't add to them, like for us, it's a perfectly fine not to
Yeah,
drink. Like,
yeah,
don't get, I'm not being one of those people that is going back and forth like a pendulum because it's the cool thing to do on a topic.
yeah.
And that's what people love to do. It's like,
Mm.
oh, anti-alcohol and everybody's for alcohol and then it's back and forth.
Yeah.
People love to do that. No, I'm firmly, I got my, I've got my stance on this. So again, if you want to drink, drink, but yeah, just be honest about the effects. That's it.
Mm. Yeah.
So, mate, anything else you want to add to that? Oh
No,
no.
not at all. No.
I think we smashed that one out the park, and we. I
Yeah.
think we did. There we go.